Thanks so much for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. Let's get to your headlines. Just in this morning, the economy added 151,000 jobs and unemployment ticked up to 4.1% in the first full month of the Trump presidency. While the numbers are good, economists say it's likely too early to capture the full impact of DOGE layoffs. Days after the Trump tariffs went into effect against the nation's top trading partners, the president has reversed course. He's holding off on taxing some imports from Mexico and Canada for now. Plus, after weeks of widespread firings at federal agencies, the president told his cabinet secretaries they are in charge of who stays and who goes. NBC's Alice Barr is in Washington with the latest.
Hi there. All eyes on the economy today with a new jobs report and more changes to President Trump's tariff plans that are keeping everyone guessing what's coming next.
If you would have seen the people yesterday, maybe...
President Trump walking back his 25% tariffs on more imports from Canada and Mexico for 1 month, just 2 days after putting the levies in place, adamant the reversal was not prompted by concerns over higher prices for U.S. consumers and stock market drops.
I'm not even looking at the market because long term, the United States will be very strong with what's happening here.
The temporary reprieve on everything from avocados to auto parts targets goods covered by the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement negotiated in the first Trump term. But about 60% of Canadian imports and half of those from Mexico are still subject to the 25% tariffs. And all bets are off 1 month from now when President Trump wants reciprocal tariffs on virtually every U.S. trading partner to begin.
We just weren't treated right. We were ripped off.
American businesses in limbo.
30 more days to worry about it.
As a February jobs report due out today offers the first full month of employment data under the new Trump presidency. That while President Trump is now proposing a more measured approach toward federal workforce firings.
I want the cabinet members to keep good people. I don't want to see a big cut where a lot of good people are cut.
The president posting praise for the Department of Government Efficiency while noting it's now up to cabinet secretaries to be very precise as to who will remain and who will go, using a scalpel instead of a hatchet.
If they can cut, it's better. And if they don't cut, then Elon will do the cutting.
Uncertainty from the workforce to the markets as President Trump presses ahead. President Trump signed a new executive order overnight to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve funded by Bitcoin seized in criminal and civil cases. That as the president hosts a first ever White House crypto summit today. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
And looking ahead to September, that's when the National Park Visitor Center overlooking the Mississippi in St. Paul is slated to close. That's 6 months from now. It's housed inside the Science Museum of Minnesota and meant to educate people about the Mississippi National River and recreation area. But now, the Trump administration announced it's planning to terminate National Park Service leases, closing 34 offices across the country. They serve as visitor centers, museums, and employee offices. We spoke with the park's former superintendent about the decision. Here's what
So it wasn't based on what's the value of this park, what's the need for this park, what's its mission, who does it serve. It was simply about timing. And how does that serve the American public?
Aside from national parks, 8 other government building leases in Minnesota are also on the list of closures to cut federal spending. They include the Indian Health Service in Bemidji and IRS offices in Bloomington and St. Cloud. Now, you'll want to look at this. Everyone in this car that's about to flip over is expected to be okay. That's what State Patrol tells us after an overnight crash on 35W near 76th Street in Richfield. Around 1:30, traffic cameras caught the driver hitting a metal sign where that highway splits, and flames erupted, and at least 3 times the car rolled over. So we paused it before the impact, throwing someone out of the car. State Patrol says authorities arrested the 34-year-old driver related to alcohol. He and his 2 passengers went to the hospital. They all suffered minor injuries, they say. This morning, Pope Francis marking 3 weeks in the hospital. NBC's Ann Thompson is at the Vatican.
Today marks 3 weeks in the hospital for Pope Francis. The Vatican says he had a restful night, and a Vatican official says that he is undergoing active physical therapy today to improve his mobility as he recovers from double pneumonia. Now, last night here in St. Peter's Square, There was a surprise for those who came to pray the rosary for the Pope. A taped audio message from Francis himself. The message was short and in Spanish, but in it he thanked those who have been praying for him from the bottom of his heart. Now, one person who was there said it felt like an answered prayer. The Pope's condition is said to be stable. His prognosis is still guarded. He is continuing to get supplementary oxygen, but his blood tests are normal and he has no fever. Now, in what could be seen as a vote of confidence in the Pope's stable condition, his doctors plan no medical update today. If nothing changes, the next update should be Saturday. I'm Ann Thompson at the Vatican. Now back to you.
New details on the deadly medical jet crash in Philadelphia earlier this year. The NTSB, in its preliminary report, says the cockpit voice recorder was not recording during the flight and had likely not been recording audio for several years. The crash killed 7 people and injured 24. There was nothing in the report about a potential cause. The spring break travel season officially takes off this morning. Airport officials at MSP tells us this morning is one of the busiest times for them all year. The travel rush comes as we're learning more about a nightmare situation on a Sun Country flight from Minneapolis earlier this week.
I'm Joe McCoy. FBI officials say 2 children are to blame for a security incident that diverted a Sun Country flight from Minneapolis. They say passengers found a handwritten note in the plane's bathroom that said, "You are all going to die. Help me." There were 156 passengers on this flight, and a passenger I spoke with says they spent more than 2 hours on the tarmac before being let off. Each passenger received a hotel, Uber, and dinner voucher from Sun Country. Officials say they will not be pressing charges.
Developing this morning, new documents obtained by KARE 11 show 2 new lawsuits have been filed against Delta in connection to last month's plane crash in Toronto. One plaintiff is from Minnesota, the other from Colorado. Both are suing for damages, claiming they've suffered emotional, physical, and financial hardship following the incident. New images this morning showing Starship, the massive spacecraft that Elon Musk says will one day take humans up to Mars, blowing up from space. NASA shared these images taken from the International Space Station as the rocket crumbled on its way off Earth. The explosion raining down debris from the sky and temporarily causing chaos at airports across southern Florida. Marissa Parra joins us from the Miami airport with details.
What is that, like a meteor shower?
A shocking sight in the sky, just minutes into the 8th test flight of SpaceX Starship.
There it is. Boom. Oh my God.
The world's largest rocket spinning out of control before breaking into pieces. Fiery debris visible in the sky across Florida and parts of the Caribbean. The explosion even disrupting air travel, the FAA temporarily diverting planes and grounding aircraft for nearly an hour to avoid any falling pieces of debris. Flights were disrupted at Florida hubs like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Orlando.
So I looked out my kitchen window and I could see Starship rotating around. It was a bright white flash in the sky. I wanted to make sure first and foremost that it wasn't tumbling at us.
It was the 8th test mission for Starship, which SpaceX CEO Elon Musk hopes one day can reach Mars. Musk posting overnight, quote, "Rockets are hard." The scene almost identical to a similar mishap less than 2 months ago, when Starship Test Flight 7 also ended in a ball of flames. A SpaceX internal investigation says that failure was likely due to leaking fuel propellant. This time around, the company made upgrades to the spacecraft. But while the rocket's booster was able to successfully return to the launch pad for the 3rd time in a row, just minutes later,
you can see we've lost several engines.
SpaceX pointing to a, quote, energetic event in the aft portion of Starship, causing the rocket to lose orientation known as attitude control, then all communication.
We did lose contact with the ship. Unfortunately, this happened last time, too.
And just like last time, pieces of the spacecraft came raining back down to Earth. The FAA once again launching a mishap investigation to determine what went wrong, adding Starship will remain grounded until that investigation is complete.
We're going to be right back here in the not-too-distant future, and we're going to get a ship to space.
Hey, stay with us. More news and weather are coming up on KARE 11 News now.